Modeling Cosmos DB. The agenda is relational modeling, embedding data when not to embed data, referencing data, many to many relationships modeling. So, acknowledgement is the documentation from Microsoft. So, we present here a relational ERD diagram where an address can have, where a person can have many addresses, a person can have many contacts, and each contact can be of some type. So here when we are converting to a NoSQL type of modeling, what we do is embedding so that we can query things faster. And here what we are seeing is that the customer data has the addresses embedded in it. Here in this example, we are showing that there would be one address, right? But it can have multiple addresses. S- Example might be billing address, postal address, permanent address, and so on and so forth. Similarly, the customer can have different contact details as we are seeing it here, and email and phone. All of it are together. But when to embed, uh, these are the various points which would inspire us to embed. There are content relationships between entities. There are one to few relationships between entities. There is embedded data that changes infrequently. There is embedded data that will not grow without bound, and there is embedded data that is queried frequently together. In the previous example, we saw that a person and the addresses, those are bounded, as well as they can be queried together, and the details are also bounded. You cannot have infinite number of addresses and infinite number of contacts. When not to embed, so this is an anti-pattern, where you would not go and embed things which is unbounded. Like if you have a blog post and you have comments and there are thousands and thousands of comments, you won't do that. What you do is a kind of a compromise, is that uh, you would store the first three comments, and then you would have a separate entity called comment items, in which you would hold chunks of 100 comments together as it is shown out here. Here the recent comments are three, and then there is a separate entity called comment which holds the chunk of 100 comments together. Referencing data. So this is a case in which a person is holding stocks, but the stock has an open price, a high price, and a low price, but it changes quite frequently. So this is not a great use case for embedding. So what you do is that you go ahead and reference the data, and what we are doing is that we are referencing the stock IDs, and we are having a stock document as a separate entity and a person document as a separate entity. When to reference, we are representing one to many relationships, representing many to many relationships. We are relating the data changes frequently. The reference data could be unbounded. Where do I put the relationship? The growth of relationship will help determine in which document to store the reference. Let's see it with an example. You see, there is a publisher, there is a books. A publisher can have many books associated with it. So if you put it there, we are assuming that the publisher has a limited number of groups books, and there is limited growth. But the reverse way is much more easier, in which a book will have only one publisher and we can reference it back, and the book has a reference to the publisher rather than the publisher having the reference to the books. How do I model many to many relationships? So, usually in the relational world, when there is one entity and there is another entity which has a many to many relationship, we create a third entity which joins both these two entities together. Author and books, there is a many to many relationship because one author can author many books and a book can have many authors. So therefore you would have a joining document which is the author ID and a book ID. But that's but you can do it in a different way. in which you can have the author documents. You can store the books in that author document, and in the book documents, you can store the authors. This is a very short video on modeling Cosmos DB. We'll go into the second part later on where we will go into depth. Thank you. Hope you liked it. Bye.